Before we move on to our next topic, let me tell you about our friends over at Hunt to Harvest. Now, if you're wanting to update and upgrade your hunting apparel, head over to hunttoharvest.com and check out their spring 2023 collection where they have new styles in for turkey hunters and different types of fishing. Now, they still have plenty of hats, especially in the Richardson 112 style, and their mystery box special is still going on. So do not hesitate to click on that link below and support this great brand who know hunting is about spending time with loved ones, providing for your family through the harvest, and giving thanks to the one who created all things big and small. And when you go over there and go to checkout, be sure to enter that promo code RADNEY18923 to get an additional 10% off on your purchase at checkout. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of 3 Wide. I'm your host, Radney Crawford. Today, we're going to be going over what was a fantastic race on Sunday at Kansas Speedway, where Denny Hamlin gets the race win, albeit in somewhat controversial fashion, after making contact with leader Kyle Larson on the last lap, coming out of turn 2, going on the back straightaway. But the big topic of the race and post-race was the fight between Ross Chastain and Noah Gragson. So diving right into that, you see in the video here, Ross Chastain, Noah, they're coming out of turn 4, Ross on the inside, Noah on the outside. Ross kind of rides up into Noah. Noah makes contact with the outside wall. And when they're coming down the front straightaway, Noah shows his displeasure, runs alongside Ross coming to the start-finish line. And that was it for the time being. So fast forwarding to pit road, Noah is kind of standing by, waiting to speak his mind with Ross. Ross comes over. They're talking face to face, and it's pretty much starting out. Noah saying, "Why did you run me up in the track? Run me up into the wall?" Ross saying, "I gave you plenty of room. What are you talking about?" And Noah decides to grab a hold of Ross's uniform. And at that point, Ross tells Noah to stop a couple times. And he starts to go tell Noah to stop a third time, but Ross swings and makes contact with Noah's jaw. And what was solid contact, if you go to NASCAR's Twitter page and go watch the video, you can't hear a lot of what they're saying, but you definitely hear the pop of when that punch connects. And so they're immediately broke up. The NASCAR officials were right there on top of it. They get spread out, and Noah was lining up to give one heck of a punch right back. And so that's definitely where Noah's probably wishing he would have been the one to get the first swing. But looking at this situation overall, going back to the contact with the wall and Ross, with Noah earlier in the race, looking at it on the surface, it doesn't seem like it warrants this kind of reaction from Noah, just because we've seen more aggressive moves, over the top moves by Ross than this. There is some space still between Ross and Noah that could have kept Noah off the wall. But apparently this has been building up for a couple of weeks. Ross made the comment, apparently, that, after the race at Talladega, where Ross spun out and caused a huge crash with Noah Gragson, intentional, unintentional, that beside the fact, that's just what happened. Ross made contact with Noah, caused a huge crash. Noah confronted Ross on the plane. So for Noah, here we are, 2 out of the last 3 races, and 2 of races where he has had some great runs going on what's been a pretty lackluster season for Noah. And they've both gotten ruined, like I said, right or wrong, by Ross Chastain. And so he feels like he needs to go up and say something, and good on him for going up and speaking his mind to confront Ross, to stand up for himself. But where Noah messed up was putting hands, number one, on Ross and not going ahead and swinging while you've already got that hand on him. Because with both these drivers, you look back at their history, especially in the Xfinity Series. Noah, he's been in several incidents, post-race confrontations with drivers, and Noah has thrown the first punch. He's not shy about being the one to get physical. He's even said as much that he's not there to push around. If we're going to fight, we're going to fight. And I'm paraphrasing there, but that's basically what Noah's attitude is, especially back in the Xfinity Series days. Whereas Ross, he's had his fair share of incidents in the Xfinity Series. There was a deal with Ryan Reed where Reed come up and shoved Ross from behind. Also, Ross had a incident with Jeremy Clements at Bristol where apparently there was a fight in that. And Ross made the comment in his interview back then that he got shoved from behind, and he's not okay with that. He's doesn't like being in that situation. He doesn't want hands put on him, and he's going to react as such. And Ross stayed true to his word on that. He's shown that he's not going to be a guy that likes to be handled. So Ross gave him plenty of warning through the first punch, and the NASCAR officials were right there on top of it. Ross didn't go hide behind the officials. You can watch the video and see for yourself. they're right there in the middle of Noah and Ross. Noah's still got a hold of Ross. Ross has a free hand. Ross is throwing his hand up, to say, I'm done. I'm not the one being the aggressor right now. Noah's still got a hold of me. And Noah wasn't able to get his shot in. So they get broke up. Noah's obviously still wanting more. So it'll be interesting to see how these two guys race each other going forward. They both have very similar personalities. And, you know, Noah, like I said, he hasn't had the best season. So what will happen, say, next time Ross is coming up to lap Noah? Or say Noah's having a great run like he did at Talladega or Kansas, and he's up there near the front and around these guys. What happens then? It's going to be interesting to watch. This could be the next big Ross Chastain rivalry. But I want to give props, number one, to Noah for going up and speaking his mind, for confronting Ross, because we don't see that a lot. We see plenty of drivers talking to the media and talking about Ross, but we don't see a lot of them going up and talking to Ross himself and airing their feelings. Now, they may do it when they get home and whatever goes on throughout their week, or they may talk on the phone over the week. We're not sure, but at least in front of the cameras, in front of everyone to see that we're not going to put up with this anymore. These drivers don't really do it. He's had some conversations on pit road with drivers like Kyle Busch, Martin Truex, Denny Hamlin, guys like that. That'll speak their mind. But outside of that, a lot of drivers just kind of talk to the camera, and that's where it's left off as far as we know. So Noah, being this young rookie, who is known for being this aggressor in the Xfinity Series, for him to come up and this quickly show that he's not going to put up with it is a positive for him. It sends the message that, hey, Noah's not going to be the guy that we can go out there and push around. And Noah to get physical with it, good for him, standing up for himself. I won't knock him for that, because a lot of young drivers, we see it take time. We see it take a lot of stuff to go on the track for them to finally put their foot down and stand up for themselves. Like Joey Logano back in the day when he finally stood up to Kevin Harvick at Pocono. It took a lot of build up for Logano to get to that moment. But just where Noah messed up was not getting the first punch in. And outside of that, this was a pretty entertaining, interesting post-race development, and it'll be something to keep an eye on as the season goes on moving forward. But cutting to the race itself, this was the best race we've seen all season long. We saw a lot of lead changes, a lot of comers and goers. Hindered drivers, Kyle Larson, William Byron, they were strong for most of the day. Surprisingly, Byron, who had, was one of the loosest cars on the track and even pretty much spun out and made contact with the wall. That's the only thing that kept him from fully spinning out. But a lot of strong drivers. Bubba Wallace had a great run, just showing last year's runs at Kansas, was no fluke. Tyler Reddick started out strong. It was a solid day for Toyota and Chevy. Not so much Ford, besides Ryan Blaney showing some flashes. But the most impressive part was that final battle between Larson and Hamlin. Larson's leading with just a handful of laps to go. Hamlin's trying to track him down, and it seemed like Hamlin would get right there where he can make a move and would lose grip on the car, and Larson would pull away. And it was just this yo-yo effect back and forth until finally on the last lap, Hamlin was able to stick with him long enough to get Larson loose, get him out of shape. He's side drafting him. He's, messing with the air coming off of his car. And we see Larson getting loose, especially coming out of turn 2. Larson, he makes slight contact, if any, with the wall, and he knows he needs to cut it down. Unfortunately, Hamlin was right there, and just a hair of his fender was there on the inside. And when Larson comes down, that's where the contact's made. It gets Larson even more out of shape, and Larson gets sent onto the outside wall. He was able to hang on to it and finish in second, but Denny was able to get ahead with the win. And the fans booed him, but outside of that, especially for the fans who were at home, seeing all the replays, watching the race, there wasn't a whole lot of outcry. And I agree with that. This wasn't a dirty move by Denny. This wasn't Denny dumping a guy for a win. This was some good hard racing, some good battling going on. And yes, unfortunate it ended the way it did, because I would have loved to seen these guys go into turns 3 and 4 and seeing how that would have turned out coming to the checker. Unfortunately, it just didn't. Again, I don't know what people who say it was dirty driving or somebody took out Larson, I don't know what they wanted Denny to do. Denny's only other option at that point is to let off the gas and let Larson gather it back up. But if Denny does that, then his race is done, and he doesn't get the win. And we know how bad these drivers want that. So Denny stays with it and, keeps it off of him the best that he can, because that's Denny's line. It's not like he drove up into Larson. He's just holding his line, and Larson just didn't have a whole lot of wiggle room. If Denny had went into turns 1 and 2 and just drove through the back of Larson, just dumped him, yes, it's a different story. Or if Denny had, tried to do this slide job going into turns 3 and 4 and went up the track and collected himself in Larson, yes, different conversation. But to me, this was a great race, a great ending, and nothing dirty about it. Just good, solid racing between two of the best in the NASCAR Cup garage. So this weekend, we're going to be having action from Darlington Raceway, one of the oldest tracks on the schedule. And each series is going to be racing the Truck Series on Friday night, Xfinity Series on Saturday, and the Cup Series on Sunday. It's a big weekend for NASCAR. We got Throwback Weekend, Mother's Day weekend, and this Thursday, we're going to have a new video out previewing each series race, as well as discussing the return of Ryan Newman for Rick Ware Racing. And we're going to put the spotlight on some of the best throwback paint schemes for each series. So be sure to subscribe to this channel so you know when the new video drops, as well as our weekly fantasy picks. And I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their week. In the description below, you will also see the link to my weekly podcast where we go more in depth over the race weekend from each series, and also the link to my sponsor, Hunt to Harvest. So be sure to click on that link. Go check out their awesome selection of hunting apparel. Be sure to use that promo code Radney18923 at checkout for even more savings, and let them know that we sent you. So everyone have a wonderful rest of their week, and we will see you here shortly for another episode of 3 Wide.